Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Joey. How
How are you?
are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. So welcome to class. This is one of my series of classes. So a phrasal verb is something that is really hard for English learners because they're difficult and they change the meaning. So today we're going to look at some phrasal verbs that start with the verb fall and use other prepositions. Hi, Beto. Welcome to class.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So as I was saying, this is phrasal verbs. So welcome to Phrasal Verbs version fall. So today we're going to look at 11 different phrasal verbs that use the verb fall as the base. So fall for, fall behind, fall into. So do you know what a phrasal verb is, Beto?
Not really, no.
No. So phrasal verbs are the combination of a verb that we learn in the infinitive form and a preposition or other words. So like fall for has a completely different meaning than just fall. So they're tricky to learn because depending on the combination of the preposition and the verb, they have new meaning.
Okay.
That's what it is. Hi Fernando, welcome to class.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Very good.
So welcome. So this is phrasal verbs, and we're all going to focus on phrasal verbs that use the verb fall. Okay? So you've been in my phrasal verb classes before, so you know how it works. So what we're going to do is first we're going to try to figure out what these phrasal verbs mean in context. So I'm going to pull up different slides that have examples of the phrasal verb being used, and we're going to read them out loud and try to figure out what the meaning is and how it's different from just the normal verb fall. Okay, so we're going to take turns, and in each slide that's going to be bold, the phrasal verb that we're working with, and it's important to note that sometimes the same phrasal verb can have different meanings. So they're really tricky, and it's good to sort of take notes to remember the difference between the different phrasal verbs, and even when they have a dual meaning, one alone. Okay, so we're going to look at 11 today, 11 different verbs that use fall. And 10 are going to be common. There's one that's not very common, but I'm going to share with you all anyway. Okay, so we're going to get started. So the first one is, and then at the end of class, we're going to take a little quiz to see if you guys remember and see if you can fill in the blanks for ones that are especially difficult. So the first one we're going to look at is fall back on, to fall back on something. So, Anatoly, could you read the first paragraph, please?
She's not too sure what she's going to do about employment. She really wants to be an actress, but she's always got her graphic design training that she can fall back on. She went to school for 4 years after all.
Good. Okay, so based on the context of that paragraph, what do you think the phrasal verb fall back on means? Any ideas?
Fall back on. Literal understandable meaning could be look ahead, look behind in the past.
Look behind.
But,
so
I'm
she
not
wants
sure.
to be an actress, but she's always got her graphic design training that she can fall back on. So let's look at the second example and try to figure out if that'll help us. So Beto, could you read the second paragraph?
Sure. He's always been a good friend to me. I know I can always fall back on his support if I'm having a rough time. He even let me stay with him when I was unemployed last month.
Good. So how about you, Beto? Any ideas what the phrasal verb fall back on means in these two examples? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, it's something like support or backup.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. So it has the meaning of being like a backup plan. So for example, if you say, I am hoping that I'll be a model, but I can always fall back on my training as an auto mechanic. So it's like a backup plan, like a plan B. You can fall back on something if something else doesn't work out. And then also, sort of the same meaning for the second example, fall back on support. If you can, people can support you. So if something happens and I can't pay my rent, I know I can always fall back on my sister to help me out. So something to rely, a backup plan, something that helps you feel more secure for security. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So that's fall back on. First one. And the next one is fall behind. So Fernando, could you read the first paragraph, please?
Okay, nice. Okay, she really started to fall behind in work and in school. She was distracted by what was going at home. She was behind on schoolwork and the tests she had at work. He had to talk to her and warn her that if she fell behind anymore, she'll should end up failing the semester.
Good, yeah, she'd end up failing the semester. She would end up failing the semester. Yeah. Good. Okay, so based on that context, any ideas what it means to fall behind?
Yeah, it's like when you are starting to get behind of the others, so you're starting to you're not the same level. You start to get behind the others.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're talking about schoolwork or anything that's measured by achievements, it means that you're going to be at a lower level than other people. So if you start to fall behind, it means that you need to catch up, right? That you're kind of lagging a little bit and you might be only on unit 3 when everyone else is on unit 5. It means you're starting to fall behind. And then Anatoly, could you read the second paragraph, please?
I got lost in the park. Everyone was so excited and I fell behind because I got distracted looking at the exhibit. I didn't know where to go or where everyone had gone.
Good. Okay, so based on that context, how would you explain what it means to fall behind?
This person lost in the park.
Yeah, they got lost. So I wouldn't say these are two distinct meanings, but the second version, the second paragraph, is a more literal interpretation of this phrasal verb, right? To literally fall behind. If you're with a group of people, it means you're kind of walking behind everyone else, and then as a result, you get lost or something like that. So it can be used in the more abstract sense if you fall behind people in work and things you have to do, or if you fall behind in a group of people, if you're sort of left behind everyone else and everyone else is continuing ahead of you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. Great. Okay. So if any of you have any questions at all during this, please don't hesitate to ask. That includes new words that you see in the paragraphs, anything at all. So instead of interrupting, a good way to do that would be to write something in the group chat. If you say, like, excuse me, I have a question. But don't hesitate at all if there's any new words, any doubts. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So Anatoly, could you think of an example for the phrasal verb fall behind? Have you ever fallen behind in something?
We studied very quickly, and when we have read the first paragraph, I thought that I fell behind of our class.
Yeah, okay, good example. Are we moving too fast for you? Are you doing okay?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe a little.
Okay, we'll slow down. So then I'll go back to the first one. So fall back on. Reito, can you think of an example for fall back on? Here, and I'll write them all in the chat so that we can see them. So fall back on the first one. That one means to have a backup plan, right? What can you always fall back on? Do you have a backup plan? Do you have someone you can always rely on? It's fine if you don't also. Just an example. Any example.
This morning my car didn't start, so I had a backup plan on my bicycle.
Yeah. Or I had to fall back on the fact that I had my bicycle. Something like that. What about you, Fernando? Fall back on?
Yes. Well, for instance, could be it's always a good idea to have a second plan to be able to fall back on in case of the first one doesn't work.
Means to have, so I'll write in the chat, so like a backup plan or something to rely on. Okay, so any questions on that first one? We started a little quickly. Everyone all good?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So then the next is the one we just did, fall behind. So, Beto, can you think of an example for fall behind? Have you ever fallen behind?
Yeah, I usually I used to get fall behind at the school because I used to talk a lot in class. So.
Yeah, so I used to fall behind a lot in class.
Yeah.
Because I used to talk a lot. Okay, good example. Okay, so to be at a lower level or get lost. Okay. Okay, perfect. Good. So that is to fall behind. And those are two examples. So you can fall behind literally if you're in a group of people, and sort of abstractly if you haven't done your work or if your grades are lagging, anything like that. Okay. So those are two. So then the third one is going to be fall for. To fall for something or someone. So fall for is one of the tricky ones that has two meanings. So there's two different meanings of the phrasal verb fall for. So we're going to take it one at a time and talk about what they mean. So, Beto, could you read the first paragraph here for fall for?
Jane fell for Bill the first time she laid eyes on him. It was love at first sight. She always falls for bad boys because she thinks they are attractive. The problem is that they always treat her badly.
Good. So based on this context, what do you think it means to fall for someone?
To get attracted or fall in love for
Exactly. So it comes from the phrase fall in love, right? So it's kind of like a shortened version of fall in love. So to fall for someone is to like start having feelings for them, to fall in love. Exactly. Or to sort of, be attracted to someone if you fall for something. Exactly. So this is only when it's going to be followed by a person or a kind of person. So you fall for someone. So this is meaning number one. So we fall for someone means to be attracted to them or begin to have feelings. Can you think of an example for that? Beto, have you ever fallen for someone?
Yes. Well, obviously, I fell for my girlfriend.
Yeah. Good. Okay, fine. Well, when did you fall for her? So it's used when you're talking about like the moment that you realized that she was great or something. So that's why in the example it says like it was love at first sight. Like she fell for him immediately when she saw him. So when did you fall for your girlfriend? You can make something up. It doesn't have to be real.
Well, I fell for her the first time I saw her.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. So any questions on that, Beto? Is that clear what the meaning is? So if you say, "Oh, she fell for someone again."
No, it's clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Fernando? Clear?
Yes.
Yep. And Anatoly?
Yes, but for the question could be from the Elvis Presley song "Falling in Love with You." Why we should use with preposition with you?
So that's going to be the longer phrase, to fall in love with. Essentially means the same thing as to fall for. But if you use the long phrase, you're going to use the whole thing. So fall in love with. Those are always going to be together. And then if you take out love, it's not going to be like fall with or fall in. You can't fall in someone or fall with someone, or it has different meanings. If you just use fall, it's going to be fall for someone. Does that make sense? But it comes from that. It comes from that phrase. It's sort of a shortened version of that.
Okay, thank you.
Can you think of an example?
Example. Can't live without her. Just fall in love with
Let's
her.
fall in love. So you could say, I really fell for her, right? Like I really fell in love with her. I really fell for her. I can't live without her.
Okay.
So what are the other? Fell in love with or fell for?
And you always have to specify the moment or the reason why you fell for?
I mean, not necessarily, but if you're going to use it in the past tense, that's generally when you're going to see it used, right? Or if you're talking about habitual actions, right? So let me pull the example back up. So there was like, she fell for him at first sight, but she always falls for bad boys, right? So if you're expressing like the kind of people that you like or the kind of people that you tend to fall in love with or tend to be attracted to, a habitual action, if it's used in the present tense. Or if you're talking about a moment in the past simple, right, it's going to be a more specific moment. Does that make sense? It's not always specific, but since you tried to use it in the past simple, I wanted you to use a specific moment.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay, great. Okay, so that is to fall for, meaning 1. Now we're going to look at meaning 2. So Fernando, could you read the second paragraph?
Sure. I told Mike that it was snowing in the desert, and he believed me. That guy falls for everything. But one time we tried to convince him that there were 32 days in April, but he didn't fall for it.
Good. So based on that context, what is the second meaning of fall for? What does it mean?
Like
to fall for something.
Yeah, to be convinced easily. Yeah.
Exactly. Good. So like a good word that's going to be associated with this is gullible, right? So if someone is really gullible, it means they fall for everything, right? It's easy to trick them. It's easy to play jokes on them. So that's going to be meaning number 2, and that's going to be fall for something, right? So number 1 is when you fall for someone, and number 2 is when you fall for something. And they kind of have similar meanings, right? Because if people become really stupid or foolish in love, they fall for someone. That's kind of why they're similar and related. So number 2 is fall for something. So to be convinced of something untrue, or become part of a joke, like that. So
can you write the word that you're saying just right before the definition?
What? Which word? Sorry.
Yeah, the word before the definition that was gullible or something like that. I couldn't understand it.
I don't know what I said. Well, because I wrote in the chat box number 2 for something. Oh, gullible. That's what you meant.
Yeah,
gullible.
That one.
There we go. Sorry. Gullible. I think I spelled it right.
Okay.
Yeah, someone who is gullible falls for everything. That's pretty much the definition of the word gullible. It means that it's really easy to sort of trick them or tell them lies. They believe everything. Gullible. Let me make sure I spelled that right. Gullible. Easily deceived or cheated. So if you fall for everything, it means it's easy to deceive you. It's easy to play tricks and games. So can you think of an example for fall for, Fernando?
Yeah. For instance, could be at the school there was a classmate that was really really easy to fall for a lot of things. Could be like that.
Yeah, so he fell for lots of things. He was really gullible. He fell for lots of things. Good. Good. What about you, Anatoly? Is the definition clear? Can you think of an example? Have you ever fallen for a trick?
Yes, I'm thinking maybe this one. I asked her to follow to go with me to the cinema because I wanted to buy some electronics near the cinema, and she felt
Fell.
for my trick.
She fell for the trick. Yes, so I was going to mention that. So you're going to see this commonly used with it, with the direct object it, so fell for it, right? So you can explain an elaborate trick and then say, like, and I fell for it. So if I say, let's say, I went to a plaza today, and there was a guy doing magic tricks, and he said he would do a magic trick with my bill of 100 pesos, and I gave it to him, but it was all a trick, and I fell for it. Right? So you're gonna say like I fell for it, or he didn't fall for it. It's really commonly used with it. So just so we remember when we're conjugating, right? So the verb to fall, since it's our base verb, past simple is fell. Past participle is fallen, right? So have you ever fallen for a trick? Just so we don't forget. Okay. Okay, so any questions on fall for, the two definitions? Fall for someone in a romantic sense, or fall for something in sort of a deception trick? Any questions? All good?
Everything good.
Okay, cool. So that is fall for. So the next one is fall into. Fall into something. So, Anatoly, could you read the first paragraph, please?
Gerald used to be a model student, but he recently fell into the wrong crowd and has been getting into trouble. His grades are now much lower than before.
Good. So based on the context of this paragraph, what do you think it means to fall into?
Maybe he was attracted this company, the crowd, and good influence fell into. Good
So
habit became bad habit.
Exactly, good. So it's a bad habit. So he fell into the wrong crowd. Hi, Caesar. Welcome to class.
Hi.
Okay. So we're doing phrasal verbs with the verb fall. If you look in the chat, you can see what we've been doing so far. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So we're doing fall into. So yeah, so Anatoly, so those are good guesses, right? So fall into, in this sense, right, to fall into the wrong crowd kind of means to start doing, if you fall into something. So Beto, could you read the second paragraph, and then we'll clarify a little bit more what the definition is?
Many criminals have never planned to lead a life of crime. They simply fall into the lifestyle from a young age due to other factors. Poverty and crime have a serious and dangerous link.
Good. So what do you think, Beto, in this context? What does it mean to fall into something? To fall into a lifestyle, to fall into a habit?
Yeah, to get attracted to something you didn't want to, or you haven't planned to.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's better if we look at the two examples together, because it's usually used in a negative sense, right? And it's always going to be contrary to plans. So it's going to be something that you didn't plan for, that you weren't expecting, that you just fell into, right? It just started to happen, became a habit, and changed things, right? So like Gerald was a model student, but he fell into a bad crowd. We just kind of started to hang out with them, and then it had repercussions later. So it's always contrary to plans. Contrary to plans, to begin like a habit. And it's usually negative. It can be used in a positive sense, but you're generally going to see it with things like fell into a crowd, fell into habits, fell into life, negative. Okay, any questions? Can you think of an example, Beto? Do you know anyone who's fallen into a bad habit or fallen into a bad lifestyle? You can just think of any hypothetical example.
Yeah, like I didn't like to smoke, but I finally fell into smoking because of my friends.
Yeah, so you fell into the habit of smoking. Perfect, good example. Yeah, so it's something that you didn't plan to do, but it's something that happened. Okay. Caesar, can you think of an example of fall into? Do you have any questions?
After hanging out with my friends too often, I fell into eating fast food.
Yeah, that's good. You can see it. So, okay. Habits, crowds. Yeah, so I'm adding this to the definition. So it's commonly seen with like lifestyles, habits, crowds. If you fall into a lifestyle, you fall into a habit. Good. Okay. Any questions from anyone before we move on to the next one? All good? No one says okay, I'll keep going. Okay, good. Everything's good. Okay, so that is fall into. The next one we're going to do is fall off. Fall off. Caesar, could you read the first paragraph, please?
After the holiday peak season, sales usually fall off until the summer. Everything starts back up again around October or November.
Good. So based on that context, can you guess as to what the meaning of fall off means?
Yes, that the sales usually well, the number of sales decreased probably unexpectedly, or
not necessarily unexpectedly, but yeah, decreased either dramatically or gradually decrease. Okay. So this is generally going to be used only with like numbers, sales, records. It's going to be really focused on like quantity and like the business realm. So you're not going to really see fall off in day-to-day conversation unless you have a job in sales or in business and finance. It's like a really technical term to talk about numbers, talk about a decrease in something. So with that in mind, Fernando, could you read the second example?
Okay. During the 2009 financial crisis, sales of new homes fell off drastically. We saw record lows in real estate, and many struggled to make ends meet.
Good. Okay. So Yeah, I sort of already went over the definition, but so that's another example of how it's used in like a financial sense. So like I said, it's generally going to be used with numbers when we're talking about numbers. So Fernando, can you think of an example of fall off?
Okay. For instance, during the Black Friday, the prices usually fall off a lot.
Start to fall off. So it's like decrease, usually in relation to numbers, quantities, sales, etc. Okay. Any questions on that one? It's not very common, but if you do work in sales or something, you're going to see it. All good? Any questions?
Nope.
No. So that is fall off. Okay. Next one is fall through.
Okay, just a second before you go on that one. I saw also that you can fall off your bike.
Yes. Yeah. So
Is that a verb?
Yeah, that's a phrasal verb, but that's closer to the literal meaning of fall, right? So the literal meaning is to fall. Yeah, so I'll put that as meaning number 2. So literal meaning. But I explained that in other words. To unexpectedly leave where you are. Unexpectedly. Yes, you can fall off your bike. You can fall off the path. So it just means to stray. To stray from where you are. So it's not, I fell off the path, I fell off my bike. So I can't think of any other phrases or any other, things.
Can I say fell off a ladder?
Sorry?
Fell off a ladder or fall off a ladder?
Yeah, you can fall, because you fall off things, right? So you have to be on something to fall off, right? So things that you climb on or you get on, you can fall off.
Okay.
So the opposite of on.
You fall off a skateboard.
Yeah, so usually modes of transportation, things that are higher up. Yeah. Good. Good. That's one that I didn't have on here. Questions?
No, go ahead.
No? Okay. So fall through. Next one we're doing is fall through. So Anatoly, could you read paragraph 1 for fall through?
You should get a college degree so that just in case you singing the signing.
Singing? Oh, sorry, that should be singing. That's my mistake. Sorry.
Singing career falls through. You won't be without any qualifications other than singing. It's always good to have.
Sorry. Yeah, I did it twice. Sorry. Singing. Yep. It's always good to have.
It's always good to have something else to fall back on.
Good. So this uses to, right? So we learned earlier what it means to fall back on something. So if one thing falls through, you're going to need something else to fall back on. So based on that context, Anatoly, what do you think it means to fall through?
Maybe follow or go through something to have experience of being singing.
So if it falls through, you'll need something to fall back on. So you'll need a backup plan. So if something falls through, you need to go do something else. So what does it mean to fall through?
Maybe to fall, literal fall. Literal meaning.
So literally through, right? The preposition through is to go like through something. So like ghosts can go through walls, right? So like go through something. So if something falls through, literally, like you can fall through the floor. If you fall through the floor, it means whatever's underneath you collapses, right? And you fall through. So that's the literal definition. So when we're talking more abstractly, what do you think it means to fall through? So if I really wanted to be a singer and I spent all this time practicing and then it fell through, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad thing.
To get stuck?
To get stuck? To not work out. To not work. To not be successful. So if something falls through, it's over. Like, it's done. Like, here, so we'll look at the other example. Beto, could you read the second example?
We were going to camping this weekend, but our plans fell through because of the big storm. We didn't want to go camping in the pouring rain.
Okay, so Beto, based on that paragraph, what do you think fall through means?
Something it couldn't be accomplished.
Yeah, so something that was planned but didn't have results, right? It didn't actually happen. So if someone asked me like, what are you doing this weekend? I would be like, oh, I'm just staying home. I had plans to go away for the weekend, but they fell through. So like I was going to do something, but it didn't work out. Something changed, something happened, and it's no longer my plan. So it's a negative connotation, meaning that something isn't going to happen and that it's over. Something fell through. It finished. It's done. Does that make sense, Anatoly?
Yes, I understood.
Can you think of an example?
When I visited IELTS exam, I fell through the grade this exam. I wasn't successful like this, no?
So things that fall through are like plans. Like plans fall through. Really
plans, broke plans. I planned to visit Australia last summer, but my plans fell through.
Good, they fell through and you didn't end up going. Exactly, yeah. So like if I plan to go in a career and it falls through, it means that I got to do something else. Good. Okay, Beto, can you think of an example? Have you ever had plans that fell through?
Yeah. I want to go to the beach on the summer, but it fell through because I have no money.
It fell through. It fell through because I don't have any money. Exactly. Good. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions? Any doubts? I think it's helpful to think of the literal meaning, right? To think of like whatever you had underneath you fell through, right? So things can't fall through that you didn't plan or didn't want to do, right? So falling through means that you had some sort of hope or ambition or something that you wanted to do and it didn't happen, right? So think of like the literal, like the floor falling out from underneath you. It's something that you built up, you got really excited about, and then it fell through. So it always has to do with disappointment or things not working out the way that you thought they were going to. Okay? Any questions? Is that clear?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Okay. Caesar, can you think of an example of fall through?
I was planning to travel to China, but for some reason, my plans fell through.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so it's usually just plans. Good. So I'm going to write that it's, usually like disappointment, things that you were looking forward to. Yeah, Okay, good. Okay, Caesar, could you read the first paragraph? Oh, now we're going to do fall apart. So kind of related to fall through is fall apart. Could you read the first paragraph?
She told him that she had been cheating on him, and he completely fell apart. He started crying and didn't stop for hours. We had to call his friends to go comfort him.
Good. So what does it mean to fall apart in this context?
And that they broke up.
Well, no, he fell apart. They didn't fall apart. He did. So she told him that she had been cheating, and then he started crying and got really sad. He fell apart.
Okay. So that he felt depressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to fall, if you talk about, so I'm gonna divide this in two sections. So if you talk about like emotions, right? So to fall apart means that you're just like completely beside yourself with emotion, usually negative and usually sadness. So like if I say like when I got the news that my grandma had died, I completely fell apart. Like I was totally beside myself. I stayed in bed for days. Yeah, it's like depression or sadness if you're talking about
Your heart is broken.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll put that in Prince of Emotions, broken heart. So to fall apart. Usually it comes with like crying, staying in bed, being depressed, things like that. To totally fall apart. Yeah. Okay. Fernando, could you read the second example?
They started that building project 4 months ago, but everything fell apart when the architect quit. So nothing has been done yet. I don't think it'll ever get complete.
Good. So then, in this context, what does it mean to fall apart?
Just to live there in the state that it is without continuing it. It could be like to be just unattended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So fell apart. So if I say, today I was riding my bike back from the park and it completely fell apart. And I was stranded and I didn't have anything to do and I had to take a taxi home with the different parts of my bike. What does it mean that my bike fell apart?
Your bike broke into pieces?
Mm-hmm, that it broke. So literally to fall apart means to like disintegrate or to break into smaller pieces, to divide into parts. Yeah, so if, so if I built a bookcase and I spent all last night building the bookcase and then I finally put a book on it and it fell apart, meaning that it became destroyed, fell into pieces, disintegrated, things like that. So it makes sense when you're using it in an abstract sense, right? If you fall apart emotionally, it means, right, that everything you had all worked up fell into little pieces, right, to fall apart. And then in the second example that we just saw, like plans can also fall apart. They can fall through and they can fall apart. They're very similar. So if a project fell apart, it means that it died. Like it's not going to happen anymore. It broke down into pieces and you can't put it back together.
Okay.
So can you think of an example for fall apart in any sense? Emotionally, literally, abstractly?
Okay, so could be like, okay. Oh yeah. His father died, so he completely fell apart and started talking with nobody because he was so sad.
Good example. What about you, Anatoly? Can you think of an example for a fall apart?
I need to change my computer because old one fell apart.
Oh yeah,
Almost fell apart.
I thought you were talking actually that something happened with your computer, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So it fell apart. It broke into smaller pieces. Okay. and usually hard to put back. Hard to put back together, like a broken heart. Okay. Okay, is that all clear? Any questions for fall apart?
Nope.
Okay.
No questions.
Next. Good. So the next one is fall down. And this this is another like literal one. The fall down kind of goes with fall over and fall off. These are ones that you're going to see have a closer meaning to the base verb to fall. So these should be easier, and we're gonna go through them a little bit quicker and then go for the quiz. So fall down. Anatoly, could you read the first paragraph?
Did you see Dancing with the Stars last night? In the middle of the dance, the woman fell down. I don't think she got hurt, but it was pretty funny and everyone laughed. She was embarrassed.
Good. So how would you explain fall down in this example?
I think we can explain using literal meaning. She couldn't stand on her legs.
Exactly. She fell down. She fell on the floor. Good. And Beto, could you read the second example?
Yes. He got hurt badly when he tripped and fell down the stairs last month. You can still see the bruises in his arm and legs.
Good. So can you think of an example with the phrasal verb fall down? Have you ever fallen down?
Yes, I have, especially when I walk on ice.
On ice? Yes. That is a real struggle. I can sympathize. I went to college where it snows and the whole sidewalk would be ice. I have fallen down many times. Okay. So any questions on fall down? It's pretty literal. It essentially means the same thing as fall itself as a verb. Any questions?
Yes, I've got one question. What would be the difference if I say then I was running and then I fell, or if I say fell down? I mean, is it necessary to say the down? Because if you fall, obviously, well, we are literally talking that you go down.
They basically mean the same thing. But if so, like this is the tricky part. So this is the difference between fall over, fall off, and fall down. So fall over is the one we're going to look at next. But you would say I fell off my bike, right? Because you were on something. Right? You were on the bike. If you were dancing or ice skating or on your feet, you would probably say fall down. If you were on something that was tall, or if something that was tall fell over, you're gonna use fall over. But they're pretty much interchangeable, and you can usually just use fall. But I included these in the phrasal verbs because you'll see them commonly together. But if you say I was riding my bike and I fell, I was riding my bike and I fell down, they have the exact same meaning and they're both correct.
So I must say the down or over according to the situation.
I mean, so it depends. If you're gonna say I was riding my bike and I fell, that's fine. I was riding my bike and I fell down, fine. If you're gonna say bike after the verb, so like I was riding and I fell off my bike, like you can't say I fell my bike or I fell down my bike. I fell off my bike.
Yes, I got it. But how about with the example of dancing? I mean, she was dancing and then she fell. Do I need the down in that context?
No, she fell. But down means the floor. So down means you hit the floor. So I could say she was dancing and she fell, but he caught her. But I would say she was dancing and she fell down means that she fell all the way to the floor. And was all
okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. It means that adding the directional means that no one caught her, right? She went all the way down.
Okay, I get it. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we're going to look at fall over, which I kind of just explained. It's similar. So, Caesar, could you read the first paragraph?
we were playing Jenga,
Jenga.
and we
Yeah.
almost won. It was a very tense moment, and then of course the tower fell over. Oh well, it was a good 5 minutes of play.
And Fernando, could you read the second paragraph?
Okay. Last night, the bookcase fell over. It made a loud sound and woke everybody up. I guess we need to stop buying so many books, or at least buy another bookcase.
Good. Okay. So, like I said, so this fall over are just for things when you're talking about height. And fall over usually means that it like fell over like that. So Jenga, have you guys ever played Jenga? Where you put the little things on top of each other until it all falls? Yeah. So that's what it means to fall over for things of height.
So it is correct to say the Jenga tower fall apart?
Fell apart. Yeah, well, so if it fell over, these are like really slight. If it fell over, it means that it fell over. If it fell apart, it means that it fell into pieces.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because to fall apart means that the whole was dissolved into parts somehow.
Okay.
Instead of just like staying as one and then falling over. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
So trees fell over then. Fall over.
Yeah, trees, exactly. Trees do not fall apart unless you cut them into little pieces. Trees fall over.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions? These are really good questions, clarifying the difference. Anything else?
Nope.
Anatoly, how are you doing? Are things clear?
Yes, that's clear.
Yeah. Any questions?
No.
No? Okay. So we're almost out of time, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull up the quiz really quickly. Let's see how many we can get through. So let's test how many we've really internalized and how many we remember. So, okay. So, number 1. Every time John points at my chest, I look down and then he hits my face with his finger. I can't believe that stupid trick every time. Fernando, do you have any idea what this one is?
Yeah, it was like fell off.
We fall off?
No, it is about. I got it. Fall for. Sorry.
Good. Fall for. Right? So if someone is gullible, if they fall for tricks, you fall for silly tricks like that one. Good. Okay. Number 2. When I broke my leg, I couldn't go to school for a month. So I really in class and had to get a tutor. Anatoly, any idea which phrasal verb with fall we're going to use there?
I couldn't go to school a month and really.
So I had to get a tutor to help me with my schoolwork because I wasn't in school. So I really.
I'm thinking. I really fell apart. No.
Which one do we use if we're talking about being on a lower level than people, or when other people advance and you kind of stay behind?
Fall behind. Fell behind.
Oh yes, fell. Good job. Fell behind. So I really fell behind in class and had to get a tutor, right? So he missed school, so he fell behind. He was on a lower lesson than everyone else. Good. Okay. Number 3. I planned to buy a new car, but my plans when I lost my job. Any ideas what that one is, Beto?
Fell through?
Fell through. Good. Plans, right? Good. My plans fell through, right? So I wanted to do something and I was excited about it, but it didn't work out. My plans fell through. Perfect. Good job. Okay. Number 4. Patrick started hanging out with the wrong crowd and gradually a life of crime and drug addiction. Caesar, do you have any idea what phrasal verb we're going to use in number 4?
He gradually fell.
Not sure. I think you came to class when we were talking about
Fell
this.
through?
No, so let me check. This is we were talking about this one right when you came into class.
Fell off.
No, so there's one that we use specifically when we're talking about lifestyles or habits in a negative way.
Okay, fell apart. No. Fell up. Felando. No. Okay, help. I was.
Okay, so fall into.
Yeah.
So he gradually fell into a life of crime and drug addiction, right? So if you kind of start to do something without planning to, if you're talking about negative lifestyles or negative habits, he fell into a life of crime. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course.
Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, and number 5. When I was in the hospital, the nurse and I, each other. We started dating and got married before my broken leg had even healed. Fernando, do you know the answer to that one?
Fall for.
Exactly. We fell for each other. We fell in love. We started dating and got married before my leg even healed. Good. Okay, we'll do one more and then we'll stop. Okay, so Anatoly, your turn. Sales of CDs sharply after MP3s were introduced on the market.
Sales of CDs fell down sharply.
So which one do we use when we're talking about sales, numbers, quantities?
Maybe not. Fell off.
Good. Fell off. So sales of CDs fell off sharply after MP3s were introduced. Okay, one more. Okay, working part-time as a mechanic is a great opportunity. That way, if I ever have a hard time finding a job, I'll have something useful to... Beto, any idea?
Fall back on.
Perfect. Yay. To fall back on. Something useful to fall back on. A backup plan. Hey, okay, that was all of them. You guys did so good. Okay, any questions at all? Anything? Doubts?
How many phrasal verbs were you studying?
Today?
Yes.
So there were 11, but I think we only got to 9.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we only got to 9. But that's fine, because I wanted to do the quiz before class ended. And the ones that I was going to do are less common at the end. I put them in the order I wanted to do. So it's fine. So we covered 9 today. They should be all in the chat window if you want to review. Yeah, and so if you guys have time, I would love it if you left me feedback on my page, which can be anything from suggestions if you want me to cover a certain topic in a future class, if you have any ideas, any suggestions, things that I did badly, things that I did well, anything at all. Very open to suggestions. And yeah, so I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you so much for coming to class.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks to you, Sayonara.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a great weekend, you guys.
Take care.